What if I told you that rejection is the greatest gift you never wanted? That every no you've ever received was actually a doorway, not to defeat, but to your strongest, most unshakable self? When Marcus Aurelius, the great philosopher king, was denied rest and comfort, he did not complain. When his own people doubted him, he did not waver. He wrote in his journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." What if we too could transform rejection into resilience just as he did? You've poured your soul into a project, a relationship, an opportunity, and then rejected. The door slams shut, your stomach sinks. But what if, at this very moment, you were standing at the threshold of something far greater? Today, I will show you how rejection is not the enemy. It's the path to your strongest self. Rejection strikes like a sudden storm, unexpected and ruthless. In that moment, our instincts betray us. Our heart races, our mind spins with questions, our emotions beg for release. But what if we did the opposite? What if, instead of surrendering to the chaos, we became the eye of the storm? Epictetus once said, "Any person capable of angering you becomes your master." How true this rings, especially in matters of the heart. When we let rejection stir fury, sadness, or desperation, we hand over the reins of our inner world to another. We become puppets to fleeting emotions, clinging to a situation that no longer serves us. But the one who remains unmoved, who resists the impulse to react, stands untouchable. In the modern world, we are conditioned to chase validation. Social media floods us with images of love that appears effortless, perfect, eternal. A single ignored message, a cold goodbye, and suddenly we spiral, wondering what we lacked, what we could have done differently. But here's the truth. Control over another's heart was never ours to begin with. What we do control is our own response, our own dignity, our own strength. Let rejection be a test of our resolve. We do not flinch, we do not beg, we do not break. We walk forward, heads unbowed, souls unshaken. Rejection is not the end of the road. It is a signpost redirecting us to where we truly belong. In the sting of a no, we often fail to see its hidden gift. It eliminates what was never meant for us. Each door that closes is a deception shattered, an illusion dissolved, a false path erased. And with every rejection, we are one step closer to the right yes. Seneca once said, "A good character, when established, is not easily overthrown by external events." This is the truth we must grasp. The refusal of another does not define us, nor does it diminish our worth. It is merely an event, a moment in time, a shift in direction. In the modern world, where opportunities are seemingly endless yet painfully elusive, it is easy to mistake rejection for failure, a missed job, a lost love, a closed door. It feels like defeat. But what if we reframed it? What if we saw it as guidance, stripping away the distractions, leading us precisely where we need to be? In a world addicted to instant gratification, patience is a rare strength. We are not entitled to every yes, nor should we want them all. Some are poisons disguised as blessings. Some would have caged us, drained us, stolen our time and spirit. Let every no be met with quiet certainty. We do not chase, we do not plead. We trust that the right path is unfolding, and we walk towards it, unafraid. They are gone, yet they still live within us, not in presence but in thought. We replay their words, their silence, their rejection, as if carving their absence deeper into our souls. But why do we grant them such power? Why do we allow ghosts to haunt us when they have long since walked away? What holds us captive is not their choice, but our refusal to let go. We must sever the ties, not just in reality, but in the mind. Epictetus reminds us, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. They do not reside in our world anymore. It is we who keep them alive in our thoughts, and in doing so we surrender control. In the modern age where every notification, every post, every reminder tightens the grip of the past, detachment has become a radical act of self-preservation. We do not need to burn bridges, we simply walk so far ahead that they disappear into the distance. The mind is our domain, and what lingers within it is our choice. To remove them is not an act of bitterness, but of liberation. It is reclaiming space, energy, and clarity. If we are to move forward, we must be ruthless in what we allow to occupy us. They have left, so let them. And when we do, we will find that the weight was never them, but our refusal to release. They doubted us, they dismissed us. They looked at us as if we were nothing more than a fleeting shadow, unworthy of acknowledgement, incapable of greatness. And perhaps, for a moment, we believed them. But let that moment pass, for it holds no power unless we grant it. Their rejection is not a wall, it is a doorway, a test, a silent challenge that asks, will we crumble, or will we rise? Seneca once said, "It is a rough road that leads to the heights of greatness." Let them think we are weak, unworthy, forgettable. That is their perception. Our reality is something else entirely. The world today thrives on validation, on being seen, on proving ourselves in the eyes of others. But the truth is, the greatest victories are often silent, not in grand announcements or desperate pleas for recognition, but in the quiet forging of something under skill, strength, mastery. We do not need to argue, we do not need to beg for their approval. We sharpen our minds, we harden our resolve. We walk forward with the kind of relentless discipline that turns doubt into dust. One day they may look back and realize the weight of their mistake, but by then it will not matter, because we will already be too far ahead, and in that moment we will understand we were never proving them wrong. We were proving ourselves right. There is a power in indifference that few truly understand. When someone rejects us, when they choose to ignore our existence, the instinct is to fight for recognition, to demand to be seen, to prove our worth in their eyes. But why? Why grant them such control over our emotions, over our peace? Epictetus once said, "If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. We are not puppets on strings, dancing to the pull of their silence. We are the masters of our own thoughts, our own focus, our own destiny." So we do not chase, we do not plead, we do not waste our breath trying to force open a door that has already closed. Instead, we turn. We redirect our energy to what truly matters. We give our attention to those who deserve it, to the paths that lead to growth, to the work that shapes us into something greater. If they do not acknowledge us, then we return the favor, not in bitterness, not in anger, but in absolute neutrality. They become ghosts, mere background noise in the vast and unstoppable movement of our lives. To act as if they do not exist is not pettiness. It is power. It is a declaration that we do not bend for those who refuse to see us. We walk forward, untouched by their absence, stronger for having let them go. There is no dignity in chasing what willingly walks away. To beg for attention is to place our worth into the hands of those who do not see it, to make our existence a performance for an audience that does not care to watch. But we are not actors in someone else's theater. We do not plead to be noticed, nor do we shrink in the absence of their gaze. Seneca once said, "The greatest wealth is a poverty of desires." And so we strip ourselves of this hunger for validation. We sever the ties that tether our self-worth to fleeting approval. In a world addicted to attention, where every glance, like, and response feels like currency, we must ask ourselves, why do we crave to be seen by those who turn away? Why do we make their indifference a measure of our value? No person, no rejection, no silence has the power to define us unless we grant it. Instead of grasping at shadows, we turn inward. We build, we create, we sharpen our minds and strengthen our will, and in doing so we become undeniable, not because we demand to be noticed, but because we have made ourselves unshakable. The world does not reward those who beg. It respects those who rise without permission. Let them look away. Let them ignore. We will not beg to be chosen. We choose ourselves. There is a silent war within us, a battle between what we wish to control and what will always remain beyond our grasp. We fight, we grasp, we rage against the unchangeable, exhausting ourselves in a war we were never meant to win. But there is wisdom in surrender, not to defeat, but to clarity. Epictetus once said, "Happiness and freedom begin with a clear understanding of one principle. Some things are within our control, and some things are not." This is the line we must learn to draw, the separation between what is ours to command and what must be released. We cannot dictate how others see us. We cannot force a closed heart to open. We cannot make rejection turn into acceptance through sheer will, but we can control how we respond. We can choose whether we let disappointment define us or refine us. The modern world teaches us to grip tighter when something slips away, to fight against indifference as if our worth is at stake. But the truth is simple. What is meant for us will come, and what is not will leave, no matter how tightly we hold on. So we let go, not as an act of weakness, but as an act of supreme strength. We direct our energy inward, shaping ourselves into something greater, something unshaken by forces outside of us. And in doing so, we find what so many seek but never grasp: peace. Let the world do as it will, we stand firm. In a world that never stops talking, silence has become a rare and underestimated power. When faced with rejection, with indifference, with betrayal, our instinct is to explain, to argue, to prove our worth in a desperate flood of words. But the strongest voices are often the ones that do not speak. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have." And what is speech in the face of rejection, if not an attempt to regain control over something already lost? Silence is not submission, it is dominion over the self. When we choose not to react, we are not admitting defeat, we are refusing to let another's actions dictate our peace. The modern world feeds on validation, thrives on desperate attempts to be seen, heard, and acknowledged. But we are not beggars of attention. We do not need noise to prove our existence. By choosing silence, we force the world to feel our absence rather than hear our presence. And in that silence, something extraordinary happens. We learn, we observe, we listen. Not to the voices that once rejected us, but to the deeper voice within ourselves, the one that does not waver with the shifting tides of others' opinions. We become untouchable, unreachable by petty conflicts and hollow judgments. The power of silence is the power of restraint, of self-mastery, of knowing that not everything requires a response. And in mastering this power, we do not disappear. We become stronger than ever before. Rejection has a way of consuming the mind, pulling us into an endless loop of why and what if. We fixate on the ones who turned away, analyzing every word, every action, as if the answer lies in their hands. But the truth is, it never did. A man is as unhappy as he has convinced himself he is, Seneca reminds us. The suffering we feel is not in their rejection, it is in our obsession with it. And so we must turn our gaze away from them and back to where it always belonged, ourselves. They are not the architects of our future. They are not the gatekeepers of our worth. The moment we stop giving them power over our thoughts, we reclaim the throne of our own mind. The modern world thrives on comparison, on seeking validation from others to confirm our value. But what if we stopped looking outward? What if, instead of chasing approval, we focused on evolving, on becoming so whole within ourselves that rejection becomes nothing more than a passing breeze, incapable of shaking our foundation? We do not control their decisions, but we control how we rise from them. Their absence creates space, a space that is ours to fill with purpose, discipline, and an unwavering commitment to self-mastery. We do not waste time mourning doors that have closed. We build new ones. And in that shift, in that quiet revolution of the mind, we realize that rejection was never about them. It was always about us. There comes a moment when we must decide. Do we plead for a seat at a table that does not welcome us, or do we stand tall and walk away? The world will try to convince us that our worth is something to be negotiated, something that fluctuates based on another's acceptance. But we know better. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it, Seneca once said. And what greater waste is there than lingering where we are not valued? Rejection is not a verdict on who we are. It is merely a reflection of another's perception, often clouded by their own limitations. And yet, many of us hesitate to let go. We wait for an explanation, a sign, a validation that never comes. But the truth is, we do not need their approval to affirm what we already know. We are enough as we are. We do not chase, we do not beg, we do not linger in places that fail to recognize the fire within us. In a world that thrives on ego battles and endless justifications, true power lies in silence, in the ability to walk away without needing to prove anything. We do not argue our worth, it is not up for discussion. We carry it with us, unshaken by rejection, unbothered by dismissal, because when we choose dignity over desperation, we remind the world, and more importantly ourselves, that we were never defined by their acceptance in the first place. Rejection is not the end of our story, it is the sharpening of our spirit. It is the forge in which resilience is tempered, the test that reveals the depth of our self-worth. We have walked through lessons carved from wisdom older than time itself. And if there is one truth to carry forward, it is this: no rejection has the power to diminish us unless we allow it. The world will turn away, people will overlook us, doors will close, but none of that can define us unless we surrender to it. True strength lies not in being accepted, but in standing unshaken when we are not. We do not beg for attention, we do not plead for a place. We create our own path, built on self-respect, fortified with silence, and illuminated by our unbreakable resolve. So, let rejection come. Let them doubt us, let them turn away. It will not stop us. We will rise, we will move forward, and in the end we will stand victorious. Not because they finally see our worth, but because we never forgot it ourselves.